Hey, welcome back to the Caribou Data Science channel. This is a version 2 of my video I did a while back about how to use Excel to analyze the cyclistic bike share data, and also how do we load 3.4 million rows of data into Excel in order to analyze it. Okay, so let's begin. Open up Excel. I'm using Office 365. Click on Data. Come over to Get Data, File, Folder. This is one of the real power features of Excel, okay? The ability to import an entire folder worth of data. In our case, that's going to be 12 CSV files, which contains all the data for the Cyclistic Bikeshare project, okay? So click on Folder, go over here, go to where the data is located, Bike Data. Okay, now we're going to do Transform Data. And let's get rid of all the data. You can see all these fields here. This just provides information about all the fields, okay? Now, if you wanted to, you could come up here, do a text search, okay, equal to star CSV. And this way the script will only import the files in the directory to have a CSV extension on. But at this point, we no longer need the rest of these, so we could simply say, right-click, remove other columns. Now see up here, so these represent all the 12 files that need to be imported. Come up here, it says the double down there, it says combine files. So we can combine all 12 of these files into a single table, okay? Here's our raw data here. Click OK. And we're going to do three basic changes. We're going to convert the date. We're going to take the start and timestamps. We're going to convert those to dates and the start and an hour. Then we're going to use those two fields to calculate the trip durations. Okay, so we don't need this. Oh, we don't need that. That's for sure. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Remove. Now we're going to copy this twice. Duplicate. Duplicate. Then we're going to duplicate the end timestamp. Duplicate. Duplicate. So we come back over here now. We can call this this start date. And this is going to be, we'll transform this into simply a date field. Right click, change type, date. Now this over here is going to be the starting hour. Once again, highlight the field, right click. Notice this is a transform and not a change step. We're going to transform this into the hour. So now we have the hour that the ride started. Go over here. Again, we're going to come over here. We're going to do this. Right click, change type, date. Now end over here. Again, this is transform, not change. Come down to hour, change to hour. Now we got the start and the end, the starting hour and the ending hour for each bike ride. Remember, each row represents one ride. Now we're going to add a custom column in order to calculate the length of each ride. So we'll call this come down here. Into that minus started at. Okay. Now we got this, you see the whole, now we got the date stamp, 26 minutes, 49 seconds. What we want to do, we want to transform this again. We want to convert it into minutes. So uh, at this point, we have our data is pretty much ready to go. Okay, data is pretty much ready to go. I will point out that, well, see if we can take a look at something here. What you go see is you go see there's some rows that are missing station name information, missing the station name information. Notice right there it says blank. So how many rows without start station names do we have? This is what this transform count rows numbers is really helpful. You can see the effect of you can see the effect of all the changes you've made to the data. Remember, we have about 3.4 million rows of data. So out of 3.4 million rows, 122,000 are missing station name information. Okay, so that's one problem you can do. Now, obviously, this is your capstone project. You can do whatever you want to with that information. But obviously, on the job, we'd be heading down to our management office asking for a clarification. Now, there's one other thing I want you to be aware of. Numeric filters less than or equal to 0. Let's just get rid of this. Let's just get rid of that. Oh, cancel. So let's do a filter here again. The question we want to ask is, uh, what are you going to do with the rides that have what are you going to do with the rows that's missing station names and where the trip duration is less than or equal to 0? Transform, count rows. You see, this is taking a minute to look for. 66,522 rides have the trip duration less than or equal to 0. Now, what do you do with those? Well, you know what? That's up to you. Again, this is your project, and in terms of the capstone project, it doesn't really make any difference what you do to them because it doesn't really affect your objective. what you're trying to accomplish. You're still trying to create a finished presentation. I mean, obviously, if this is on a job, you may include a note in your presentation about these discrepancies in the data. You of course we go and talk to our manager and see what the story is. There could be a very good reason for it. Okay, well, let's just try one. Let's try one more thing just to humor ourselves. Okay, let's see if we can maybe use an ABS function. Let's see if this will work. Oh, okay, this did work, didn't it? Let's look here. Now we still have the zeros, so there's nothing we can do about the zeros. So that does appear to have worked. It does the ABS on the results from the previous from the trip duration minutes column. It appears as if it did convert the negative numbers to integers, which could be that could be the case. Maybe there was a bug in the system. Maybe there's a bug in the system uh, where the start and end dates got reversed for some reason or other. So as long as this comes out that with no value is less than zero, we may be able to get rid of this over here also. And that's okay. So that means so there is no at this point the ABS function converted all these numbers to integers. So there is no more zeros. There is some nulls, I think, but there are no zeros, and there's no trip durations which is less than zero. So can we just delete this at that point now? Maybe we can't. Can we do this? So now we're left. So now we have a trip duration in minutes. So the only thing left to do is to come back over to home, do a load, close and load two, and we're going to load it as a connection only. And this is where the magic takes place because you can sort of think of this as you know as a oh, you can think of sort of like a window. It's a window. You look at the window at the data. So when you so it's kind of odd to understand, but the data is not actually in the data into the spreadsheet itself. Okay, so in that case, how do we work with the data then? insert pivot table from external data source, choose connection. That's the most recent there. Open existing worksheet. Let's go new. Try this. Now this could take a few minutes to finish running, to load. The basic what from this point on, okay, it's all about pivot tables and data visualizations and dashboards, okay? Like I said, it can take a few minutes to load. You know, we'll come back maybe in part two and take a look at the data model, okay? Because that data model is pretty interesting. Now we are trying to use a connection to again about 3.4 million rows of data. My system here, my system is an HP i5, so it has an i5 processor, 3 different levels of cache, 16 gigabytes of RAM. And you can see it's taken a bit in order to actually do this connection here. It's interesting that it adopts the name of the directory where you import the data from. You know, and just to recap again about the two uh, concerns we'd have for this data. One is missing station name, and the other would be trip durations that are less than 0, either less than or equal to 0. Okay. Then, of course, we didn't look at it there, but what you can see is that some of the trip durations are like really large. Okay, I mean more than a day. Okay, so you look at those and say, boss, what's with the big trip durations here? Oh, there's a bug. We don't know. Again, I'll emphasize this is a case study project. Okay, here we are. So it took a couple minutes. Now I can see. Now from this point on, it's all about trip durations and okay. Now we got a few years there. Now what do we want to do over here? Let's just oh, that's an interesting way it does that. Okay, good. So now we got some start dates. You know what? Let's do something a little funky. Let's do something a little more funkier, shall we? Remove field, remove date. Let's do this. Start hour. So here's the hour that the write started. Now let's do a count. We actually don't want to do a count. What we want to do is we want to count by hour. So now we have a count of the number of rides by hour. Now, as you can see, we have a problem. We've got this big, huge 0 number here. Okay. Nonetheless, let's come over here. Now we can do a quick plot. Insert plot. Okay. And now we got a plot of the counts of the rides by the start hour. Okay, and there you have it. Things begin climbing at 5 a.m. They peak about 5, then they fall back off. So there you have it. That's all you need to know in order to process, in order to analyze a cyclistic Bikeshare data set in Excel using Power Query. I hope you found this to be useful. Be sure to keep an eye out for maybe there may be a second in a series. I'm not sure yet, but by all means, this is more than enough to really get you started. So if you understand everything I've done here, you're well on your way to becoming a power user in Excel. Okay. Thanks again so much for your time. We'll see you next time on the Caribou Data Science channel.